Hello and welcome to another episode of the AstraZeneca Women in Tech series. I'm your host, Ben Bentham, and today I'm joined by Vishali Khiroya from our software shared services team based in Cambridge, UK. Vishali, welcome to the series. How are you today?
Very good, thank you. Glad it's Friday.
Yes, good. Well, I'm going to kick us off. Now, you are currently a senior test manager. So what does that entail, and what's a typical day for you?
Okay, so I'll focus maybe on my AstraZeneca typical day, or kind of what I tend to do. So I work within the software quality and test team within the software shared services group. And my role is really around leading and managing a sort of a portfolio of project programs across different sort of areas within IT. So it could be R&D, it could be enabling other areas. In addition to that, obviously making sure that we're promoting the best practices and kind of evangelizing, if you like, and advocating the right sort of best practices across for testing across the different areas we've got in IT. So advising on the right strategy, providing strategic guidance, advice on how to do things, what do we do, when situations arise, helping growing the test capability itself that is now mature, but helping growing that as we go into the strategic direction and digitization kind of areas that we focus on. And yeah, literally in a nutshell, that's kind of what I'd say in a day-to-day I'd do, but with obviously a lot of details that would go within each kind of area.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you. And what's been your most memorable achievement in your career so far?
In my whole career, so I think it wouldn't be right to say it's my achievement, because I think if it wasn't for the people that I always have in my teams, that some of the things are never achievable, and that is the truth of what I believe. In addition to some of the mentors, role models, people we look up to, right? These are all the people who get us to the place we want to get to. So for me personally, I think building high performing teams, good test teams, providing the right capabilities and using those capabilities in the right way to create that business value, showcase that business value, and shine. The people get an opportunity to shine. So setting up those high performing test teams and capabilities is, I'd say, one of my key things that I like doing and have done. And also where I used to work before, they used to do an independent, I think it used to be called an MC3 best kind of managers scoring, independent scoring that they used to do. And I was very surprised, but I achieved in 3 years in a row, I achieved a kind of a 3-star in that rating, which was very humbling and flattering to have. So that's what I'd say, but none of those would be possible on my own at all.
Brilliant. I think you're a very humble character, but I think that's what probably makes you such a great manager. I think you have to have that. Yeah, it's about the team. Yeah, it's not about individual success. So that's great. Now, would you say you have to have a particular skill set or even mindset for a role within testing? I think the perception is often that it's quite a technical nature of the role.
So testing, I would say, is a very vast area. So there is a lot of different areas of testing that people who are interested to go in can go into, and this is technical and non-technical. So there are people, rightly so, that you would be interested in IT and testing, but think, whoa, this is really technical. I'd say no, don't get discouraged by that. There is a huge spectrum, and something that hopefully fits for people with different skill sets and mindsets. So there is a mindset, yes, because testers come with that mindset, the quizzing mindset. How do I break something? Even now when I'm not hands-on, constantly I'd be looking at, if I'm given a spreadsheet as an input, how can I use that to break the system? How will it behave if I give it these kind of inputs, or if I do this? So coming back to your question, in terms of that, so there are different areas within testing, as I said. So if you choose the functional testing area, where you're doing more manual kind of testing, you don't need to be very technical with that. With a good mindset of having that quizzing, being questionable, open to how do you do certain things, and you obviously have courses, exposure, that is an experience that's given to you to get to that point. But that is definitely something that would work for a lot of non-very technical people. You need to have some understanding of technology, obviously, to be able to work with it, but that's in the current day and age, that's, you know, anybody could pick that up or, with the right mindset. So I'd say having the right mindset is key, but picking up that functional element isn't a very technical skill. We then move on to the spectrum where we now go into things like test automation or more technical testing, where we have people writing code in the background to test an application, or, and this could be a web application like AstraZeneca.com, for example, or Facebook.com. Or you could have people doing some database querying in the background, and we call that, in AstraZeneca, we call that ETL testing, or technical testing, where we have our, you know, test engineers doing that as well. So that takes a little bit more technical ability, and people who are astute. So normally people start with functional, then people who aspire to get more technical will start learning those skills on the job, and you naturally pick this up. When I started in IT, I wasn't technical, but I, 15, 20 years ago, used to do some database testing myself. How did I pick that up? If I can pick it up, I am sure other people in technology can, you know, can pick it up. And you slowly make your way up within the path you want to go. So, you know, people might become a little bit technical, but then they think that's enough for them. That's fine, because there's other routes into testing that you can go. Then test automation is where, you know, we have a lot of technical skills that come and play there, where you become a test developer at heart, really, kind of thing, with a test mindset, but also with a coding skill set, which is absolutely critical. And then we have performance testing, load testing, you know, concurrency usage, a little bit more technical skills needed there. We've got things like pen testing, security testing, that's also another technical area. So it all depends. You've got test management, which is where I've kind of ended up, you know, going through right from the start, working my way upwards. But I'm not an automation engineer, and I didn't need to be but I have the understanding of how automation works, what it means. I've done it, you know, to some level before, just at a very base level. So you don't have to be uber technical to start your career in testing, I'd say. And there is a lot that should meet people's needs depending on your skill set, your mindset, and whether it works for you.
Brilliant. Wow. I mean, it actually sounds interesting as well. So thank you for that explanation. So I'm going to rewind you back to your early childhood. So you were born and raised in Kenya. So what was that kind of experience like, and how have you kind of, you know, how's that you've moved and transitioned to being where you are now?
So I think I'm very, very fortunate. I've had a very lovely family, and I still do. And I wouldn't be where I am without my parents and my family, my brother, my sister-in-law, my nieces and my nephews, you know, really, really lovely. And so I've had an upbringing in Kenya up till I was at the point where I came to the UK for university, basically. And I think, in a way, that's kind of what builds us our character, you know, how it differentiates from other people. I think I've been very, very fortunate because although I was kind of brought up in Kenya, I kind of went through the English education system. So, you know, at the time there was O levels and AS levels, and I actually went through that process because I wanted to come to the UK for my further education or university degree. So that kind of is how it went. But obviously lifestyle is very different in Kenya. I miss some elements of that, of course, because I still go back there to see my parents, you know, every now and again. So there's a huge element, but it is a different lifestyle. But potentially, you know, we live with the values we live with, and those values never change where you live. And I think I've been brought up with those values, which hopefully I still have and haven't forgotten, even though I've now kind of anglicized as such.
No, great. That's interesting to hear. So how did you come then to choose a career in IT then? Was it something you decided on, or were you influenced by family or friends?
So I kind of fell into it, if I'm very honest with you. So I was deciding what degree to do, if you like. And I wasn't the brainiest of kids, if I can be honest, you know. So, you know, I decided, not because I wasn't the brainiest of kids that I decided to do IT. That's not what I'm trying to say, by the way. But, you know, I kind of didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know what degree. I knew that I wanted to do further education. I knew that I wanted to study. And kind of that was because I think I wanted to follow the steps of my sister, who was already in the UK doing a degree. So I kind of thought, I want to do that as well. But I don't want to do pharmacy because that's too sciencey for me. And that's not my mindset. It's a great career for her, and she's brilliant at it, but not personally for me. So I decided to go into IT, having read some curriculums and kind of what. And to be honest, probably the reason for that is because it gave me the opportunity to choose later on down the line which area of IT I wanted to work in. And there was a broad spectrum that I could have at my sort of fingertips, you know, what do I want to go into? Essentially, having had a degree in IT, during my degree, I kind of fell into testing, if I'm honest, and absolutely loved it. So I did an industrial placement at IBM. That was my first time into testing. I was a grad, you know, not even a grad. It was within doing a degree, placed into IBM for a year, and I did things like hardware testing. I used to change cards behind a PC. At the time, there was fax cards, believe it or not. I used to change them, test the telephony of them through software. You know, had mentors, and at the time, I absolutely loved it. The people I worked with, the reception I got, the amount of learning that it came with, and that's when I decided that I want to pursue a career in testing. So that's how I kind of fell into it. Okay. But I loved it, and hence I carried on my career after graduating into testing.
Okay, lovely. Were there, when you joined, were there many other women entering into tech careers at that time, and what was it like for you as a female going into an industry that was probably very heavily male dominated at that point?
Yeah, so this is going back quite a long time ago. Absolutely, there wasn't that many women, although more than people might think. So, okay. You know, I wasn't obviously the only woman joining, you know, in IT in those 5 years of when I had that placement in an organization, and then a year later having had a full-time job somewhere else. And there were fewer women, but I think my personal experiences, I've always found I've been at the receiving end of nothing but welcoming hands, open, as long as you're humble, you ask questions, and actually are ready to accept that you don't know something, you're not meant to know everything, and accepting that you don't. People are so open to teaching you, you know, taking you on that journey with them because they know you want to learn. And actually grabbing that opportunity means, even as a woman, personally, I've never found a barrier to learning or getting to the point that I've wanted to. I've never really thought that I want to become a senior test manager in 10 years time down my career. I've been very passionate about my career and I've wanted to do something, but I never thought I'm going to one day become a senior manager. I just wanted to see where it leads me. And as long as you focus, have that opportunity, you know, look for opportunities, find the opportunities and grab them. Don't be scared. If you can't do it, you know, then you can't do it, but try it, and you will enjoy it, you know, because you put your all when you think you want to do something. And essentially, personally, as a woman, throughout my career, I haven't found barriers. Yes, there are times when, because I'm short, because I'm small, I'm not as young as I look, but people tend to think I you know, maybe she doesn't know. That sometimes makes, you know, it takes maybe 15 minutes into a meeting for people to get your confidence, people who don't know you. But that's general, natural thing, man or woman, that's the same, right? That is no difference. That's because I'm a woman. I think that's a general thing. So personally, I've had a great experience. I'd encourage anybody to go into IT and not worry about some of the things that you know, I've not been a victim to, hopefully.
Great. No, that's a brilliant answer. And you mentioned about passion, and I can see the passion from you, and it's really infectious. So, I mean, you must be, as a leader, it must be such a great thing to have someone as passionate as you. And having achieved what you have, what advice would you give to other women out there interested in venturing into an IT or tech career?
So, as I said before, I think grab it. The world is your oyster. If you're coming into IT, don't be scared that this is way too technical. Start at a level where break it down, break everything down, I say, and start at a step-by-step level. Break it down. Look for other people who've done it before. Come and talk to me. If you're really keen, come and talk to me and say, how, you know, maybe I can help, maybe I don't, but I can maybe point you to people who can, and break it down. Don't be scared. Embrace it and take one step at a time to digest. Work on it, but I would say grab the opportunity. Don't be scared and work on some. One thing I'm really keen to do is not work on one thing, right? Don't be narrow-minded. You start on something, but there's always opportunities where you think, can I help you with that? I'm quite interested in seeing how that works. Don't be scared to ask, to say, do you want some help with that? It might add to your workload in the short term. Of course it does, because you're taking on more work, but that is how you learn new things and become better, become an all-rounded person that, whatever circumstance you then put in within the IT, you will break it down and you will get through it. So I'd encourage people hugely to come into the field. There is a huge spectrum of opportunities: business analysts, testing, which is my forte, obviously, so I can talk to no end about testing, development, architecture, release deployment. The variety is huge depending on your mindset, but come with the right mindset, have the learning abilities, be a sponge, suck it all in, and don't be scared to ask questions and grab the opportunities.
Wow, what a great message. And yeah, I echo, be a sponge. I think you have to be a sponge, regardless if you're in IT or anything. I think that mindset, you'll thrive anywhere. So thank you. Now, when I ask most people about their role models, I tend to get a response about a family member or someone famous. But what's really refreshing about you is that yours is different to most people. So could you kind of tell me a bit more about your role model?
Sure. So I don't want this to sound cheesy in any sort of way, because it's not intended to be, but I haven't really spoken about this openly before, but there's always an opportunity, and for people who need recognition, rightly so. So role model wise, first and foremost, my parents are always going to be at the top there for me, because they have made me who I am here, with the values that I have instilled from them and the guidance they've given me throughout my career. Even now, as old as I am, they're always there at the end for me. But from a career perspective level, and from a perspective of having learned from individuals, so there are certain people we all look up to as we go through our career, and there's been a couple of them in my career, obviously, but the one person I'll spot out now and maybe embarrassed a little bit is Dan, who is my current line manager. So I've worked with him over the last 8 years. I don't want to kind of pre-fill this, because it's not meant to be cheesy or anything, but it's just that selfless management style, which I've never seen before, or I've seen in very few individuals do well. And I think having somebody you look at and learn from at the level that you're progressing and you're growing, 8 years ago, I wasn't at the level I'm at now. I was an engineer doing hands-on work, but I have learned and progressed by looking at people, watching people, learning through experience, exposure. And he's one of the people who I've watched and learned from huge amounts. The leadership style, management style, always being there, putting your people first, putting your team first, but also not just managing downwards, managing upwards and downwards is really, really important. And just watching sometimes and observing how people do that. But in addition to that, things where obviously you've got teams, but you've got your jobs in terms of your testing and what you do. Also learning, how do we provide value to the business, where we get, how do we firefight issues? How do you go in with a calm and collected demeanor and completely diffuse what might have been a real, rockety situation? So huge learnings from individuals like Dan, and I hope more people in the career out there have people like Dan as role models or managers, and I'm one of the, I'm very, very fortunate to have and carry on working with him. So I'm going to stop there before I embarrass myself for him anymore.
That was brilliant, and hopefully Dan will be watching this. So Dan, if you are, bravo to you. Some really nice comments there. And that brings me on to a kind of penultimate question, Vishali. How has AstraZeneca more broadly helped you develop your career?
So I think when I joined AstraZeneca, I was joining within the testing remit, so a remit that I have always had a career in, but it was not in my comfort zone, because I've never been in pharmaceutical before, and there is a learning curve within the industry. Also, I joined from a technology organization where I was before to a very non-technological organization, pharma and manufacturing kind of thing. So how it's helped me progress in my career is, one, given me an insight into yet another industry that I've learned about and loved it actually, and I continue loving what I do here. I'm fascinated even now by some of the areas I'm learning on, you know, from the R&D or enabling, you know, all sorts of areas, huge amounts of learning that I still have to do, and that fascinates me. So that in itself, I think, is my own growth and career growth. So it doesn't have to be career growth, but I think to me that is growth. Also, I think I kind of, one of the key reasons of you know, maybe joining is also, you know, having the opportunity to be a test evangelist and providing that thought leadership on, you know, best practices. What kind of testing do we use? What are the right techniques to use? And kind of improving processes across AZIT in the right modern test techniques that we should be using, and making sort of slow headway. So that's helped me. You know, I've not really been in that position to do that before, and here it's allowed me to have some contribution to that. You know, there's loads of people who contribute to that. There's no one individual who does it themselves, but having at least a part to play there has been great, I think. And also stakeholder management, you know, more senior stakeholders that I talk to now and have developed through learning from people or just my own style, you know, and also that has helped develop my career. So loads of different things, and obviously the applications we test here, platforms we test here, are also different. So that in itself is another addition to the things that I've been exposed to. So it has helped me grow hugely, especially become a stronger leader, I would say, because I'm managing and leading, you know, different bunch of people here compared to what I was, you know, before. The level goes upwards each time. So obviously I have become a stronger leader. I've had to sometimes not be so nice, you know, and that's something we all have to learn. And probably, you know, harder for me than maybe other people, but I've learned that, and that has made me much stronger and confident in what I do, I would say.
Great. Wow. I can't imagine you not being nice, Vishali. Yeah, pleasure to talk to you.
Not nice, but yeah, there you go.
And so my last question then, so what more do you think AstraZeneca, the world or society could be doing to support greater female representation within technology?
So again, this is a personal view again, because every woman and every person will have their personal view. So I think AstraZeneca does it very well. So I think we carry on doing what we do, because I notice here what I've not, you know, in other areas I've worked with, there has been obviously the emphasis of having an ethical and the diverse workforce, but I see that even more emphasized with the values that we have here at AstraZeneca and what we live and breathe and what we as leaders and managers encourage in our teams. So I personally think we do a lot already. I think we just carry on doing that, having a very open mindset, you know, being very open to when you do your interviews, when you have people in your teams, not being biased, man or woman. To me, it doesn't make a difference. I'd like to give, you know, whoever works in my team the same experience that I've had as an individual, you know, working up through my career level. So it's treating people the way you want to be treated, really at a personal level, and it doesn't start at a corporate level. It's at an individual level where you adopt such practices. So you can't teach somebody this, but AstraZeneca has the right values, I think, to sort of bring them down to their teams. But personally, I think we do a lot more than I've seen in other places, so which is fantastic to see. And we as individual leaders and managers instill that in our ways of working in our teams, and that's what we can do.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I think the message I take from that is that, yeah, we each individually have a responsibility to be doing this and making a big impact. So I think that's great. Well, Vishali, thank you very much. That brings us to the end of the episode, and I want to thank you for being such a great guest, for giving up your time to speak with me. And I echo that your passion really comes through. Personally, it'd be great to work with you, because you just ooze that enthusiasm. So just thank you, and to the viewers, again, thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the session, please give us a like or share, or feel free to leave a comment, and please do join us for the next episode in the series, which comes in a few weeks' time. But in the meantime, please take care, and we will see you all very soon.
Thank you.